Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. CinemaCon is going on right now. They just released a Kraven the Hunter trailer for people at the convention, so we'll break it all down. They didn't post the footage online, so I have to be kind of careful about the way I do this video. But the footage also explains how it connects with the larger Spider-Man movies, everyone going crazy about how good it looked, so odds are this will not be Morbin time again. Thankfully, it seems like this movie is actually going to be pretty decent. And it'll be Marvel's first hard R movie that they've done since the last Deadpool movie. Technically, Deadpool 3 will be like their next big hard R movie. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. There were a bunch of other trailers at CinemaCon that were just released for everything, so I'll try to make videos for everything as quickly as possible this week. If you forgot, there is a Kraven the Hunter movie being released later this year. It's part of the Sinister Six crossover story that Sony and Marvel have going on in the background with the Venom movies, a bunch of the other live-action Spider-Man spin-offs. We make all the Morbius, it's Morbin time jokes, but like they set up Sinister Six in that post-credit scene with the version of the Vulture from the MCU, so we know that they're going to do a Sinister Six movie. I've already done a bunch of videos about that. A lot of the multiverse stuff that's going on in those movies right now, too, is tied to what's happening with them building up to Avengers 5, Kang Dynasty, and Avengers 6, Secret Wars. Because, for instance, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, big multiverse movie, Spider-Verse movie with a bunch of different characters from different universes, that movie is also building up to Avengers Secret Wars. We're going to see the Spider-Verse characters in live-action versions of themselves during Secret Wars. So all the multiverse stuff is finally starting to make sense. Kraven is supposed to be part of that, but this first Kraven movie is still meant to be relatively Earth-based within the Venom universe. It takes place in Venom's universe. Aaron Taylor Johnson is playing Kraven. Bet you didn't see that coming. That's right, we have another character from the multiverse playing different characters in different Marvel movies. That's starting to happen more and more. Like, there are just so many Marvel movies coming from Sony, from Marvel in the MCU, all the different places. Eventually, you're going to start to see some characters playing completely different characters, and some legacy characters like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man coming back. Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, also a good example of that. The Kraven the Hunter teaser trailer began with a couple short scenes of Kraven taking out this military convoy of villains in a very bloody fashion. Remember, the movie's supposed to be hard R, so it's supposed to be pretty bloody. He bites one dude's nose off, he kills another with a large hunting spear, like Kraven's trademark spear from the comics. Another one gets his face caught in one of Kraven's very medieval-looking hunting trap devices, mangling him super bad. Then they started to tie things to the larger Spider-Man Spider-Verse. There was a scene of Kraven versus the Rhino. So the Rhino is meant to be one of the major Spider-Man villains, like one of the core original Spider-Man villains in the movie. Alessandro Nivola is playing the character, and because the movie is hard R, it'll be a much darker, hardcore version of the character. Most people, when they think of the Rhino, they think of Paul Giamatti's more comedic version of the Rhino. The Kraven teaser trailer footage also made it clear that this version of the Rhino won't be like Paul Giamatti's Rhino. He won't wear an actual suit, like it won't be a mechanical version of the character. It'll actually be a biological version. A little bit more comic book accurate. The way the actor talked about his character, he said that he'll start out as a normal human and take a serum that will transform his body. So something similar to what you saw in the Incredible Hulk movie with the Abomination's transformation. In that movie, he'd been given the super soldier serum, which had already given him a certain level of powers, like Captain America level powers. Then the leader recreated the accident that gave the Hulk his gamma powers and some of the Hulk's blood, which is why he turned into that monstrosity-looking version. Otherwise, he would have looked a little bit more like the Hulk. He'll become way bigger, like you would expect the Rhino to be from the comics. The full tagline for the movie that was in the trailer read, "No one survives the hunt." Russell Crowe is playing Kraven's father from the comics, the previous Kraven the Hunter who passes the mantle down to his son. He also had a pretty crazy relationship with his father, too. Like, it was not a buddy-buddy relationship. I believe we're also supposed to see a version of the Chameleon in the movie because he's also Kraven's illegitimate brother. The full official trailer will release online around Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse when that comes in June. Big reminder that the movie's also coming out later this year, too. They've been pretty quiet about it lately, but based on all the CinemaCon footage in the trailer, it sounds like it's actually going to be pretty decent. After the Morbius movie, bet you did not see that coming. There have been a bunch of versions of Kraven's origin story. Most people remember him from Spider-Man the Animated Series in the 90s. They did kind of a speed run version of his origin during that that's a little bit different from the comics.
I must hunt the hunter, but where? Kraven is who I am. I belong among the animals.
Originally in the comics, he was born to Russian aristocrats, the Kravenov family. His father was abusive, and he was forced to flee Russia after the Bolshevik Revolution to the UK, later to the United States. Eventually, his father dies, his mother goes insane, is committed to an asylum. which is infested by spiders and it haunts Kraven's memory for the rest of his life. So it kind of informs his hatred of Spider-Man, although technically that isn't the reason why he wants to kill Spider-Man. It just sort of establishes the idea that he does not like spiders in general, so when he comes upon Spider-Man, the whole idea, the concept of the character, he doesn't like him that much. Kraven becomes a champion hunter by adulthood and spends a lot of time hunting big game in Africa. He gains his extra powers, like he actually does have some biological powers, from a special potion that he steals from a witch doctor. The level of powers that they give him are kind of like super soldier-like abilities, like he's like Captain America level strength, putting him close to Spider-Man's level of strength. He has enhanced strength, speed, senses, decelerated aging, all the things that you would want to have as a hunter. Spider-Man is meant to be a little bit stronger than Captain America. Also, some of his powers give him some slightly different abilities, like he's way more bendy than Captain America as well, too. But they're meant to be pretty close. Like if both Captain America and Spider-Man didn't hold back, they could go toe-to-toe with each other, but ultimately Spider-Man would win. Eventually, Kraven learns about Spider-Man's existence and senses that he will be his greatest challenge, and he just tries to catch Spider-Man and kill him for the challenge of it. So it's not like Spider-Man accidentally killed his parents or anything like that, or did anything terrible to him. It's just that he's constantly seeking out greater challenges to prove himself the greatest hunter in existence. He eventually does wind up pulling that off during Kraven's Last Hunt storyline, probably one of Kraven's best stories of all time. I don't think they're going straight to that story in the first Kraven movie, but I think they'll try to work up to that if they do Kraven sequels. There might be some Easter eggs for that in the first Kraven movie. They've been kind of cagey about which version of Spider-Man exists in Venom's Earth, because Vulture mentioned him in the Morbius movie, and Morbius takes place on Venom's Earth. I know there's tons of questions about the designation of all the different Earths, because in the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse trailer, Miguel O'Hara specifically mentions MCU's Spider-Man and Doctor Strange during the events of Spider-Man No Way Home, messing up the multiverse.
Get me started on Doctor Strange and the little nerd back on Earth 1999-99.
What just happened?
And what they're doing with the Spider-Force, or the Spider Society as they're calling it, trying to fix all the tears and the errors in the multiverse caused by what MCU Spider-Man and Doctor Strange did. But as you heard, he calls it Earth 19999, which was the original designation during Marvel Phase 1 era when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all the other Marvel TV shows were happening that were kind of separate from the MCU movies a little bit. There was always a question about the continuity, what was connected, what was not connected. Then eventually Kevin Feige had them say that the MCU Earth was 616 in the Marvel movies. Then you have the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse trailer, so I know there's lots of questions like who is correct? Are they correct in the Spider-Verse trailer? Are they correct in the MCU movies? The way the Spider-Verse directors talked about it, they said that each character who's talking about it thinks from their perspective that things are right. So they think of the MCU within the Spider-Verse movies on this particular Earth where they are as Earth 19999. But if you travel to the MCU and you talk to those characters who actually know about the multiverse, they would call their Earth 616. So it's one of those phenomena where you have characters from different universes using different designations for their own universe. Like they haven't developed an actual common language for that yet. Like they don't all use the same designation for every single Earth. You also might remember that they featured a comic book accurate Rhino during Spider-Man No Way Home. It's meant to be the Rhino from this movie. When the multiverse starts to tear open, more and more of the Spider-Man villains from the multiverse start to come through. The Rhino was featured here, comic book accurate Rhino. Now it's meant to be the Rhino from the Kraven movie. They had a ton of comic accurate versions of other Spider-Man characters and villains in this scene, so Kraven the Hunter was also one of them with his spear. Now it's meant to be the Aaron Taylor Johnson version in this movie. So it's kind of like they were teasing all these upcoming movies with these villains that showed up, which I think a lot of us assumed at the time, like, are they teasing that these characters are going to start showing up eventually? There's a version of Doppelganger who's the six-armed evil Spider-Man. A lot of people thought that that could be Superior Spider-Man too, so you could pick either one, Superior Spider-Man or Doppelganger, just one of the six-armed versions of Spider-Man. There was a comic-accurate Scorpion, not the MCU version, who was more of a mechanical Scorpion. I think this was supposed to be Black Cat, who was also supposed to appear in another live-action spin-off movie at some point. This is another version of Mysterio from a different universe, not the MCU version. And I think this is meant to be a comic-accurate version of Madam Web, setting up the Madam Web movie with Dakota Johnson that they just finished filming a while ago. And it's supposed to be kind of like Terminator in the Spider-Man universe with Spider-Man characters, like a character comes from the future to try and erase Spider-Man from the past. I don't know if this is meant to be a completely new version of Spider-Man, somewhere from another universe, or Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man from his timeline, or Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man from his timeline. And they didn't say much about Spider-Man 4, but they did confirm that Kevin Feige and the Marvel people are actually working on it right now. They know what the story's going to be. The planned release date right now is summer 2025, so they won't start filming for a little while, but they did confirm that Daredevil and Kingpin will be big parts of the movie. The Marvel people said what's happening during Daredevil Born Again will heavily influence the plot of Spider-Man 4, what's happening with Kingpin becoming mayor of New York City. So we might actually get Spider-Man and Daredevil teaming up against Kingpin during Spider-Man 4, but there will be other plot happening during the movie. Like, it isn't just about what's happening with Kingpin and Daredevil. Like, there'll be other Spider-Man villains in the movie. But generally, it'll be more of a classic Spider-Man type of story. Like, he's got a classic version of the suit now. It's much more lo-fi. Way more friendly neighborhood Spider-Man than, say, like the Iron Man Stark Tech version of Spider-Man. I'll do more Spider-Man 4 videos when we get more details about the movie and more Kraven trailer videos when they start releasing more footage. But if you have any questions about what's happening with all the movies, just write them below in the comments. Everyone click here for that brand new Flash trailer video with a whole bunch more Batman, and click here for that Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse trailer that they just released. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.